No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and raise us from where we are?
Top of the morning to you and welcome to Open Conversation on Atlantic Television Network. Open Conversation is the network's flagship political platform which trending political news, events and stories are discussed with stakeholders. Through these conversations, ATN uses political talks about specific issues, party system and actor to explore hope and engender positive impact to the society. And today on Open Conversation, we'll be looking at topics such as Rivers crisis, elders condemns orderly disparaging comments on to PDP, and in Bauchi State, North suffering from Tinubu's policies, says Bala. In 2025 budget, PDP LP opposed 55 billion naira for presidential maintenance. And on politics, Northern elders debunks rumors of internal wranglings. We also take a look at threat to life. Onoche tells Obi to prepare for another whooping in 2027. Remember, we are open for advert placements, bookings and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. We're going to short break. When we come back, we'll introduce a guest and delve right into the stories. Stay with us.
Representing people, Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act, I thought that we get the lead of this minister and the president. Give us access to our money.
As always said, there are two sets of people: the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which I
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
To condemn this act, I thought that we get the lead of this minister and the president. Give us access to our money.
As always said, there are two sets of people: the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which I
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people, Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act, I thought that we get the lead of this minister and the president. Give us access to our money.
As always said, there are two sets of people: the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which I
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people, Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act, I thought that we get the lead of this minister and the president. Give us access to our money.
As always said, there are two sets of people: the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which I
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people, Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act, I thought that we get the lead of this minister and the president. Give us access to our money.
As always said, there are two sets of people: the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which I
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
I will place economic stability and confidence. To condemn this act, I thought that putting us in lead of this minister and the
As always said, there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the coward and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Open Conversation on Atlantic Television Network. And joining us today on Open Conversation is no other person than Chizi Nyomasila. He's a political analyst. Good morning and welcome to Open Conversation today.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well.
Very well then. All right, let's delve right into our stories for today. Worried over the raging political turbulence, River State Elders Council has warned some individuals talking the embers of crisis between the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, and the former Governor, Peter Odili, to desist from the act. The council, in a statement signed by 4 to 5 prominent elders, including Chief Ferdinand Alabraba, Emmanuel Anyanwu, and Senator Magnus Abbey described the recent comments made by a group of concerned elders as puerile and lacking in courage. The council also questioned the motives of the concerned elders, alleging that they were individuals who had worked closely with Wike, but now parading themselves as supporters of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The Elders Council noted that despite Dr. Odili's active role in the current River State crisis, Wike had never made any adverse remarks against him due to the deep respect he had for Odili. It, however, condemned Dr. Odili's disparaging statement about Wike made at a Christmas carol service to the effect that Wike wanted to capture River State as his private estate as unacceptable. The statement reads, "We consider it unfortunate that the comments came from elders who lacked the courage to let the public know what prompted the remarks by Nyesom Wike. Did Dr. Odili deserve respect in return for being deliberately disrespectful to the Minister of the FCT? The answer is no. Dr. Odili, an elder and former governor of River State, should not have thrown decorum to the wind in making statements in his quest to please the governor, who was his special guest of honor at the event, no matter what the incentive may have been." The council advised the concerned elders to summon the courage to advise Dr. Odili to be more circumspect in his utterances in the future. We advised Dr. Peter Odili and his cohorts to kindly leave Chief Nyesom Wike alone while they continue with their exploitative manipulations of the governor of River State. They're no benefactor, the statement said. Well, Chizi, I'd like to get your comments on this statement. I mean, this is as regards to Odili's comment at Christmas Carol, where he said that, you know, the FCT minister is trying to Ghanaian River State for himself as his own private estate. I'd like to get your take.
You know, it's quite unfortunate that I've been dodging this speech, this particular scenario and issues. I just didn't want to say anything about it.
All right.
Because I like to ask, have we lost sense of history? We were here when Governor Wike was the governor of River State for 8 years. And we knew of all of the fantastic things that Dr. Peter Odili said about him, including when he was handing over and all of that. We also understood the dynamics in choosing Sim Fubara and why Odili was given the sole mandate of nominating his running mate.
And there were no criticism.
And there was no criticism.
Yes.
And then I also know that if there was anything I've heard about Dr. Peter Odili was to always comment Wike for, in fact, he said Wike has performed more than any governor, including him. He told us that. And he also said that it was Wike who had to build him a house now that he's staying in River State, that the former regime, that he couldn't stay in River State for insecurity. But that because of Wike now that he has come to. So when did he change? When did he just change to begin to talk about Wike trying to take it as a personal property? You see, my problem with being elders, I was in a forum one time where one elders, for lack of, I just don't want to mention the person's name.
All right.
Let me respect the person. You know, when he said that the problem he has with River State youths is that, as at then I was still a youth, I'm no longer a youth.
Right.
And he said then that the River State youths are not adventurous in nature. And I asked him a question. I said, the lack of fathers has allowed us, because you see, all of the youths, whether you're carrying gun or you're doing anything, I'm a product of a family. We're all products of family. That means that if we have lost 80% of the youth as that guy insinuated then it therefore means that we have lost 100% of the fathers, because they couldn't be fathers enough. Let me give you an instance why I say so. In this scenario of the disagreement between
Odili and Wike.
No, disagreement between even Wike and his benefactor, which is Sim Fubara. I think that what should have been done by Odili, especially in this scenario, knowing that these two persons respecting this much, was to call. What we would have heard was that, okay, assuming that the president has even called them for a truce, I would have thought that Odili would stand up, because the president, President Tinubu, was his mate, you know. in fact, Odile was deputy governor when he was senator. Odile was a member of the Constituent Assembly, in fact, chairman of River State when the creation of states. And so he had some pedigree. I would have thought that, Mr. President, I thank you for trying to intervene in River State crisis, but please give me the same thing we do in court. You can come to court to say, please allow me wade into this thing. I would have thought that as an elder and as a leader, that he would have called these two persons and asked the president to give him that opportunity for them to come back here. And then, so what would have heard, what would have been here is that, look, Odile and, Sim and Wike was in Odile's house where the Odile did this and, blamed those who he has to blame and all of that. But he didn't do that. Some other person took it and then he came back, read the thing, and then came back here to begin to do otherwise. I think that is not good as a leader statement. Okay, so let's just streamline it a bit to, Wike and Odile. You rightly said that they have been friends, they've been party. Actually, let me just use that word. They've been friends, during his tenure, before now that they're starting to have these issues and the rifts between the both of them. I would like to ask, what do you think are the underlying causes of this political friction between Wike and Odile? What do you think? It's simple. There are persons who we call AGIP. AGIP is an acronym for any government in power. There are any government in power. Any government in power. That's the acronym for AGIP. All right. There are people who feel that the only way what they can do is right now. Maybe I do not want. I'm just suspecting that anyway. I do not want. I want to be the leader. And so now that look at what Tinubu has done. Now Tinubu has grown to be president. Let me also be the leader. Now that there is problem between these two factors, let me support this person who is incumbent. And because of maybe personal gains, but I think that the person of Peter Odile should have grown far more than that. All right, so let's also take a look at this. Odile as an elder statesman, this is the role he played in this feud between the both of them, being an elder statesman. In what way do you think has it influenced his decisions to critique Wike, considering the fact that they've been friends, before now? That's what I'm saying, that he failed in doing that as at this time, you see. So what are the significance of this role, of this thing he just made mention? The significance about Wike. What do you think? The significance is simple. That he has not called for peace. He wants the war to continue. All right. Instead of calling for peace. Okay. So all I can advise him is to stand up and go for peace instead of disparaging one person or the other. Then I think, see, there's something IBB said one time, and I learned a lot from it. IBB said he cannot criticize in the open the person he has had sex to. That means that if I have had sex to you and I know that I can call you and you come to my place, and of course, all I need is to call. It is only when you have said this and that and that and that, and this person is saying no to it, then you go out in public and say, look, I'm saying this and this guy is saying no to it. But he hasn't done that. He has taken side. That means now that Odile is a follower of Sim instead of being the leader of Sim and Fubara and Wike. That's been one-sided. Yes, he's now one-sided. So let's also talk about the impact of him being one-sided. What impact does this have in the political stability of River State? It will not. It's affecting the stability of River State in the first instance because having taken side, that means, you see, if you are, I once told my pastor, I said, Pastor, if you are, my pastor was speaking openly against a candidate that I was supporting, and I said, Pastor, I don't know whether God spoke to you about that, but I can tell you that if you enter into the field of football and takes a side, and then you are in the other side, I will not say because you're my pastor, I will not ruffle you. That means that I will have to also dribble you to score. I wouldn't let you score me. So what that means is that now we have zeroed all the Sim people. And so whoever is fighting on this or the other side is fighting, he is part of the game. So if Sim is won, he is won. If Sim wins, he also has won. That's just it. All right, talking about Sim in life, now, what do you think are the implications of this conflict for him as a governor right here in River State? You see, naturally, it's like a father rising up in his family. Whether you like it, whether Sim is even 15 years old now or 100 years, he's the governor of River State. That means that he's the father of River State. And so in his house, he's allowing crisis. And then when you allow crisis in your house, that means that the burial, quote unquote, or the birthday of the father will not be rosy again because the house is divided and the kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. So that's what it just means. It means that it is so, I think the ball is on Sim to take off to say, okay, these are my leaders. Let me even go to them. You know, somebody was saying something the other day, in the side, and he was telling me this Christmas. And I thought, as politicians, that this Christmas he would have used this season, especially given the fact that the season coincided with Wike's birthday, to make peace. Of course, even if it was just a wish, happy birthday, my former governor, yes, Wike. And of course, he deserves that. For instance, the Bible says this, and I'm not insinuating that to him. The Bible says, woe to a nation whose prince is a child. The reason the Bible says that there are things that you do that seems childish. You must remove governance. You must look at your office as big enough as father that you are supposed to call it. When the prodigal son in the Bible, when the prodigal son misbehaved, it was assuming that even Wike had misbehaved. It was the father who was already there waiting for him to come for his embrace. And so, as a father, you can't afford a divided house. You can't afford conflict in your state. You can't do that, because if you do that, that means that you do not want to rule.
All right, then let's take a look at the next story then. Well, People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Edo State has accused the state governor, Senator Monday Okpebolo, of misleading the people by alleging that suspended local government chairman transferred 12 billion naira to party chieftains within 15 months. According to a statement signed by an Honorable Tony Azeibemi, chairman of the party's caretaker committee in the state, Azeibemi, said Okpebolo is using the allegation to legitimize his actions against the elected chairman. He claimed the charge was false and an obvious fabrication that should be ignored. The statement said, for clarity, we want to emphasize that every comment made by the governor in the statement is incorrect and unsubstantiated. And at no point have PDP leaders received any such funds from local government chairmen, as the governor has erroneously claimed. We doubt very much that the sum blacked out by Mr. Governor-elect is the figure he intended to express. We know he was perplexed a few weeks ago when confronted with financial information. Azeibemi continues to say, we challenge him to provide proof to substantiate these unfounded claims. Okpebolo must understand that the local government is neither an appendage nor a subordinate of the state government, but a constitutionally recognized third tier of government whose independence and autonomy are guaranteed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and stop forth with his executive rascality before the state descends into anarchy and chaos. He also went ahead to say, as we have repeatedly pointed out, Okpebolo's real challenge lies in his lack of capacity and developmental plans for the state. He is a politician out of his depth who got into office unprepared through the back door. We therefore urge him to settle down, build capacity, and focus on serving the people of Edo State during his brief tenure at Dennis Osadebe Avenue, rather than jeopardize the peace and security of the state in desperate pursuit of his selfish interests. Well, Chizzy, this is quite interesting now. PDP coming to, debunk the fact that the Edo State governor is saying that this local government council chairman that were, dissolved was due to the 12 billion naira that were, siphoned and given to, according to the Edo State governor, given to the PDP, chairmen and the rest. I would like to get your take on this as well. Well,
let me, how do I say it? Let me remove it. Let me do it into 3 stages. One is the fact that as the governor of Edo State, that he's made such a huge allegation, if that's allegation. 12 billion naira is not a small money to have said people that drift into that, and that is not a money that won't have signatory authorization. And I think that before now, the state were operating on a joint allocation. And so the onus of proof is on the governor. Now, that allegation could also be made by an individual. All you do is to prove it, that this is truly, and if it does, it's not something we need to leave in a wave of hand. It's something that has to be serious. It has to be serious in 2 dimensions. Is it true that this happened? And if it's true, then the people should be prosecuted. If it's not true, even the governor should be held for perjury, for lying, for telling the people that. I mean, that is not a very, what will I say, simple allegation, to give. Then on the other hand, I want to look at it from this dimension. You see, I have maintained that I am not, the lawyers will tell you that they do not know the whole law, and God forbid that they do. You know, that's to say that we must allow the third tier of government to operate independently, and the local government should be. There's autonomous in this state. If he's saying that, well, one of my persons here one time while we were on this stage, I think I was still on this sect, told us that what the governor meant was the money that was there before the Supreme Court judgment, meaning that those money that they had joint, and if those are money, of course he has rights to probe into those money, because it was a money that was on a joint allocation between the state and the local government. Of course, the removing of those money, you need to understand how it was spent. And so it is there for him to say, but I think that we should let the local government, and I want to advise that the governor is fighting too quickly. Yeah, it's not a good thing. Okay. But well, he would also remove his eye from a very obvious fault if there is a fraud in governance. And I think the governor should also be careful in their, and again for the PDP, if you look at also their words were very, very, you know, if we were writing, you don't write on certain mistakes, you know. I do not think that, in fact, when they said, as if they are caught, they said in your brief stay, we know that he's been elected for 4 years. What do they mean by brief stay? Are they going to impeach him? Are they going to do whatever? Are they saying that the court will remove him? If the court is going to remove him, do they know what the judgment of the court will be? They are also taking too much of what that statement was a little bit too far. So in all of that, I will only advise the governor to make sure that what he has said, because we can't take the words of a king is law. We can't say that, we can't take it in a wave of hand. We must deep into it, we must begin to question that, the process and all of that. And until that, he has to prove it.
All right, so I would also like you to deliberate more on the implications of laying an accusation without substantial evidence. Like you rightly mentioned, that the crux of the matter lies in the availability of having an evidence, and so far I don't know if there have been any form of evidence presented by Edo State Governor. But in a case where there is no evidence presented by the Edo State Governor, I would like you to also reiterate what implications or what measures do you think, you know, awaits him coming up with this accusation without evidence? That office is
a very exalted office.
Quite
so.
All right.
I do not think that office works with information, and there is no reason, there is no way. I wouldn't believe that a governor will just stand up and make that weighty allegation. It would be very unfortunate if that happened. You know, that a governor will stand up and say, oh, governor is not just an ordinary person. He sees an office, he has information around it. Of course, that, like I said, they had joint allocation, and he has access to those informations, and so he will have to provide it. But assuming without conceding that those informations were false, were political, that means that even the House will use that information against him. Of course, because if you give that wealthy information that cannot substantiate, of course, not only is it that they didn't do that at all, that amount of money wasn't even there, or that they did even have. I mean, that will be against the governor, and it wouldn't be good for us. Some of us will press against it and ask the assembly to do the needful.
Interesting. I love that. All right. So how does this accusation reflect on the broader political dynamics between APC and PDP in Edo State? Let's take a look at this too.
Well, you know, just after election in Nigeria, it is pretty difficult to accept defeat.
All right.
The PDP has not come home with the fact that they've been won and defeated. And of course, also the governor has also not come home to say that I'm no longer doing APC, I'm governor of Edo State, and that whether the PDP, the APC, the Labour Party, all of them are Edo indigenes, and that he is the leader. I think they should also stand into governance. There's something that happened in Lagos, something that always happened in Lagos that I enjoy so much, and that's the fact that just after election, they will reduce into the economy, security, and policies of government, and begin to look at that. I think that's what they should leave politics and now go into governance proper.
All right. How might this controversy, we also want to look at this, how do you think, how might this controversy affect the administrative functioning and financial management of local governments in Edo State? This, you know, issues of the 12 billion naira, how might it affect the financial management of local governments in Edo State?
It's as simple as that. If what he has alleged is true, whether it is true or not, let me even use that word. It has sent a strong signal to even the local government and those who will come and all of that to say that, look, you have to be careful and know that what you are doing, because you have to show what they have done with the money given to you, whether you like it or yes. You know, people. It's also awakening other local governments in the state. There's 774 local governments in the country to say that, look, you are not just spending like that now. Somebody will rise up one day to question your expenses. I mean, that is good for it. So I think it's going to make them more prudent in management of their scarce location. And so I think that, but for me, the problem we have had over time, and which, you know, it may be like I'm praying evil prayers. I wish that one day will come where there won't be allocation going to local government, there won't be allocation going to states, where you will have to source for your funds to be become creative. Any idiot can manage, who just smart enough can manage resources and just distribute resources. But in creating resources and bringing resources, that is where we need to come on. You know, where people begin to create resources for themselves, to be able to manage it themselves. And that's where the cross of leadership will be. When that happens, you will see that a lot of people will no longer go to context, because you know you are going to be the one to look out for, to source for fund, to manage it. But where you see funds is coming from somewhere, and then you stay and begin to manage those funds, it's just allocation of resources.
Well, I'm actually thinking, if there have been any precedents of such financial allegations in the past in Edo State, if there are actually such, you know, precedents.
I wouldn't say, I don't have that facts here, but even if this has to start, it has started correctly.
It starts in the day.
It starts in the day. Even if this has to start it, it has started. One thing must start. You know, somebody will say, no, why are you doing this now? The previous administration didn't do that. And I said, the fact that the previous administration, if you kill somebody yesterday and you weren't here, and somebody comes down to say, no, you killed somebody, the person didn't do anything. It is better late than denied.
All right. Let's move on to our next story for today. Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed has criticized President Bola Tinubu, saying his economic reform policies are putting the North and Nigerians at large under strain. Mohammed said he is not on good terms with the president, whom he accused of not listening to the people. The governor made the claims when he received the National Chairman Council of Ulama Jama'atu Izalatu Bid'ah, while Ikamati Suna Sheikh Sani Jingir, who paid him a condolence visit at his office in Bauchi, the state capital. He expressed frustration over the president's refusal to address the hardship, adding that the North has been particularly affected by the recent tax reforms proposed by the federal government. The governor underscored the vulnerability of the North, arguing that many northern states rely heavily on federal allocations to survive. The governor urged Jingir to leverage his influence and appeal to Tinubu to review his policies. You're one of those to whom the president listens. We mean no disrespect, but we have been telling the president that his policies are not working. Thank God you are alive today to use your wise words of wisdom in this regard, because we politicians often use harsh words. I believe you can help with the change we want, he appealed. In an earlier reaction, Tinubu's Special Advisor on Media and Public Communication, Mr. Sunday Dare, said the governor's stance neither reflects the attitude of the North towards the tax reform bill, nor the constructive dialogue needed between states and the federal government. His energy might be better directed toward implementing effective poverty alleviation programs and ensuring transparent utilization of these federal resources, that is, 144 billion naira received from federal government. The Tax Reform Act and increased federal allocations significantly benefits the states, said Dari. All right, Chidi, let's get your thoughts as well.
You see, I didn't see this before I started advocating for creative governance.
Yes.
Now, look at the governor sitting down to say that, you know, we rely on allocation. What does he mean by that? We rely, this is the only country where state relies on allocation. What is the tax reform? The tax reform is saying, in a common man sense, that you create business environment that will bring forth tax to the government, and out of that tax you'll be paid money. That is fiscal federalism. That is what it's supposed to be. And I can tell you that Bauchi has enormous resources, enormous natural endowment that can pull off resources. In fact, the tax reform is pushing people to be more creative and productive instead of relying on federal allocation. You see, I did say just earlier on that I pray one day that we don't have allocation. That means that if we didn't have allocation, somebody like the governor of Bauchi will not go for governor. That's what it means. It means that he's not creative enough to know what to happen around Bauchi. I am saying from instance, I have been in Bauchi and I know that Bauchi has enormous natural resources. If he cannot create it, he should resign and then go back to the house and relax. Because he's been used to allocation. And that is why they share it. 144 billion naira has been given to him. What has he done in Bauchi? I'm not for anybody, I'm not for Tinubu. But what has he done for Bauchi? What has he used it to do? Couldn't he have used it to create film? Do you understand that at the time came where granite was our resources of the federal government, isn't it? The granite pyramid. That's what we had. We had a time where it was palm kernel, palm oil. Where are those things? There are states and countries that rely on those resources. And I tell you that if you go to Zamfara, if you go to the north, I can tell you, look at the agriculture. What is the problem with agriculture in the north is the insecurity that has ravaged them. And so if you better the security of the place, Bauchi will bring for food, including fish. So what is he saying? Look at what he said. He is coming on national television or saying it openly before someone to say that we rely on. How can an agrarian society rely on allocation of resources instead of trying to increase their own intelligent revenue? You know, that which what the tax reform will be. So it looks like even us. I tell you here, who even told you that the River State has an advantage? Why would we have an advantage? Because of oil? Look, the world is growing fast, leaving the oil, leaving petroleum. If that's the oil, I'm not talking about the other product, byproduct of oil. But they are leaving petroleum, they are leaving gas, they are leaving all of these things. They are going for other things other than that, other energies. So what are we trying to do? They have agriculture in the north. North has a vast farmland. They have abandoned those farmland for just resources, just waiting for allocation. Now wonder they went for governor. I am sure that if it wasn't for that allocation, he would have gone. But just understand that there was a time where we had the regional government in this country. They weren't any federal allocation going to them. They were doing better. They had people they sent to university. They had people they sent outside. I'm sure that he also benefited from it. He was FCT minister. What did he do? Even as FCT minister, that he was getting some money. We didn't see anything he has done in FCT. In fact, FCT ministership ended at RFI until Wike came on board. So what did he do? He stayed at FCT minister for 6 whole years and nothing was done. And so he has gone back to Bauchi. All he's talking about, and like I said to you, if you have access as governor, whether the president likes you or not, you are representing a very important segment of the country where the president rules. So the president must listen to you. So these are the things that, and to make matters worse or best for him, he is the chairman of PDP Governors Forum, meaning that he can take about 11 or 10 PDP governors to be the president. The president cannot say no. That is even when you begin to understand this whole thing. People use politics to do whatever. I'm sure that he wants to be president.
All right, so let's take a look at the primary goals of Tinubu's economic policies, most especially the tax reform bills. A lot of people have been saying that these reform bills would even help the northern parts of the country more, to harness their resources and also grow their own database and also make their own money or resources from the natural resources they do have. But then it appears most of the northern governors are not saying it that way. Do you think this reform would help them in that regard?
That is what I'm saying. See, when you are used to people dashing you money, you lose creativity. Like I've said, it is the north that is feeding this country as long as food is concerned in this country. Do you understand that?
All right.
Do you know that the cows come from there? Even many of the fishes you see came from Maiduguri. I'm being frank with you. Many of the yam agricultural products, tomatoes, name them. They all come from there. It is people not looking inward to see the resources they have. If you look inward to see the resources you have, you know that the tax reform will benefit you. Because you see, for instance, if the oil says for 1,000 naira, I'm using that, per liter if it's petrol, and then you don't have, that means that we will depend on them and they will depend on us. We will depend on them for food because they're selling the oil to eat. And then look, they are even the one holding the most important aspect of human existence, and that is food. So if they go back well and know well, and it's not only food, they have other mineral resources. You talk about gold, you talk about uranium, you talk about a lot of things that they could use to make money. Mustafa, while he was running for president, came and named things that were there. Those things, if you put a bar with oil becomes a child play. It's just that people are too used to. You see, when a child, that is why, check this thing. You see that 80% of those whose father has amassed so much wealth without showing, demonstrating work, and then just gives them money, you find out that at the end they sell off the father's goods the day the father goes, because they don't know how to create, how to manage those funds, because they know. So if you are used to people dashing you money and giving you money to go and manage, and then you share it the way you want, you will not know how to create it. Look at what the North has done. In the same way the South has done. I'm talking about the governors and our leaders. What they have done is that over a time, look at River State. I grew up in River State having fish, having gari. I'm an Ikwere person, and I know that we didn't used to buy gari. In fact, one of those days I came back from Abuja, and I was going to eat in a restaurant with my friend, and then we went to eat, and we saw how much it was. My friend said, "Excuse me, I should just excuse you." We came out. He told me that please, that he has food in the house. I never knew he didn't have gari in the house. He just said I should give him 500 naira that he's coming. I was there waiting. Before 30 minutes, he came back with 2 bases of gari. We didn't used to buy gari, but right now, because we have left it, the school back to school to land program is gone. We are no longer talking about that because we have a location. We are no longer trying to do, where are these fishes in the riverine area? Where are the gari, the palm oil in the upland area? So every other places, we have left it for allocation. All that we do is mono economy, oil. Nobody's trying to go back to what he should go and create. Assuming that, for instance, assuming that Bauchi is a country, there are countries that are as populated, just their landscape is just like Bauchi. We can mention 2, 3, 4 countries. But assuming it's a country, wouldn't they have ruled the country without this oil? Or without allocation coming from the federal government? Wouldn't they have existed? That means that he doesn't have business being the governor of the rest of Bauchi State.
All right, Chizzy, I would also like to get your thoughts on this as well. Do you think that the fuel subsidy removal has in any way affected, different regions, most especially the North?
The fuel removal has affected, and it should affect. But look at it. What I ask people is, should we remove the fuel subsidy? Everybody agrees to that. The difference being timing. But you remember that IBB tried it, and we all went and cried. They said, no, they kept it. Our passenger came and tried it. We went, no, they allowed it. Then Jonathan came and said, no. They said, no. Even the president went and said, no, don't do it. The question is, how come that each regime wanted to remove this fuel subsidy? What is the problem? That means that there is importance in removing this fuel subsidy. Of course, it comes with hardship. There is no way you can remove all of those things when people are eating and you say, no, go and do the other one, that it will not affect the economy. But what will happen is that businessmen will come to invest. No businessman will want to come to invest where you are subsidizing fuel and all of that. Where is the competition? Let me tell you, I was in the State House when this communication, the GSM, it was Glo then, and V-Mobile, Econnect. It was Econnect then. When they came to this country, as at then, the entire Nigeria had 450-something thousand lines. The entire country, 450-something thousand lines, in the one that the government. And so they said, look, we are going to do this, and this is what is going to happen. People screamed. I was there when they came to demonstrate and told us, in fact, the community of them came and told us that 1 million line will be unleashed in 6 months. 1 million line. Obasanjo jumped and danced. Because 1 million line out of 400 and something thousand line. But I can tell you, the very first day Econet launched in Lagos, they had 6 million line. MTN launched in Abuja and had 5.something million line. And today, your mothers and your grandparents at home do have line. It was costly. When it came, to buy a line was about 40-something thousand naira, just a line. But as the time goes, today, they can almost give you the SIM card free. Today. At a time, it was that when you recharge for 1,500 or 3,000 naira, it will be for 1 month that we must recharge, or else they will cut it. But today, you can recharge for 50 naira. It's just going that way. You can even borrow because of competition. That's what happens when you open up the economy, when you open up competition for people to do that. It comes where the hardship will come, whether you like it or yes, it's turning on all of us. The hardship will come. But look at what happened in December. As soon as Port Harcourt refineries started working, the fuel came down a little bit. It's going to be coming down. As other refineries come on board and fields begin to come on board, we begin to refine, and people will now begin to look out for other alternative means of doing things. We must also, why it is? It is not that Nigerian energy is the highest, the most costly energy in the world. The problem is that there are a lot of interest. 90% of us are interested in energy because some of us, even our grandparents, use kerosene to cook. But in other countries, you'll be shocked that some persons at my age may not have known how much is a liter of fuel because they may not have gone to buy fuel. They could enter train. So as long as other things, I think what we should be arguing is whether are there social amenities. Let us begin to question the government on roads, push the government on housing, push the government on hospital, push the government on productivities, on management and manufacturing. As soon as we begin to do that, you will see that this will be a thing of the
Well, I was actually coming to that before you brought that in. Well, I'm quite particular about the aspect where you mentioned that the removal of fuel subsidy comes with hardship and economic disparities, as it were. Well, I'd like to also ask you, has there been any way, considering the economic disparities going on now, are there economic strategies that have been employed by are there interventions by Tinubu's administrations as regards to this hardship that we are facing due to the removal of fuel subsidy in order to cushion that impact of the policy?
There are, but I'm not an advocate of palliatives. I'm not. I ask question. If you want to give palliative, then remove the subsidy. Then don't remove the subsidy.
All right.
Because for me, I'm even afraid. I'm saying that Tinubu is not a politician. You know why I say so? He didn't come as a politician. Politicians want people to hail them. But statesmen want to do things that tomorrow you will benefit from it. I remember in UAE, the prince then, that's their own president. The prince then was building a dam. It was hell to the people. They said, no, they can't do that. But that thing happened for 15 years. When it started functioning, today, we're all running to Dubai. We're all running to that place because the people suffered it and waited for it. So the government is deliberate on trying to solve the problem, the permanent solution. We're looking for immediate. Of course, it happens everywhere. We're looking for immediate. And of course, the only thing I blame the government is not communicating those things, into the language that the people will understand it. They are allowing the opposition to communicate what they are not doing. What they are doing, they are not communicating. And I don't see the national intelligence agencies and the information coming to communicate the people and tell the people, look, because you see, for instance, if I go home now, and I'm hungry, and I tell my wife I'm hungry, and she says to me, oh, we're cooking. You see, I could wait. I'll be patient enough to wait. Or she even tells me, no, I've sent someone to market, we're coming. I will wait. But when she keeps quiet, I'll be shouting, I need food. That's what's happening to this country. If you tell us what you are doing, tell us the plans and everything you are doing, which I know they are doing, but they're not communicating it. Communication is lacking in this government. I think there should be some kind of communication, like I used to call it, communicating in the dialect of the people. So the people understand that, look, this is what I'm doing. You remember that we didn't do it last time for past 15 years. When Ngojo Kojowela was arguing that, look, these resources, we should save it for the windfall. She was even saying what will happen today. Nobody agreed. Because we wanted to share it. As soon as we see it, we share it. Look at all of the people who sell land. I'm an equity person. Each time they sell huge land, everybody wants to share it. Nobody says, okay, let's put for. In my village, they sold 5,000 plus of land. And I came and I said, thank God with the sold 5,000. Let us take 50% of this land and put it into a foundation that will be training our boys. Hey, no. Because your father has trained you. Because people have to be trained. You want other people not to suffer. And they said, no. They now said, okay, let's share it. They shared it. 10 years after, nobody has a dime of those who had 100 million, 200 million, because it's free money. But you see, if we had done 50% and had kept it in foundation, we would have also been training our children till next day.
All right, Chizzy. Now, talking about giving out palliatives and also planning measures to cushion the impact of the economic policies, I would like to also ask you, because it appears from controversies around, it appears that this planning are not visible for Nigerians, right? If that is the case, about the palliative we're talking about, I mean, how effective have they been for us, for Nigerians?
I hope you know that the federal government distributed 450 billion to states to use for palliatives. So I think we should also question the states. When we're talking about the country, we're not talking about just the president. The president came out openly to tell us that about 500 and something billion naira was given to states. That means in Rivers State, for instance, we have up to 50 billion naira. So what has the government done with it? We should also question our local government chairman. We should question the commissioners. I mean the supervisors. What have you done with it? What have you used that money in the government for palliative to do? What have you done? That's the question we should ask. The federal government has released it. Have they released it? Yes, they have. So the question should move us to the state. They say, Bauchi governor, Rivers State governor, Edo State governor, what have you done with those palliatives? What have you used it to do? Because those palliatives we are supposed to say, okay, you hold on. Like my father will tell me that eating dry meat is a very fantastic thing. But he said, what would he be eating until it dries? And so those kind of things that we should be eating while it dries is what we are looking at. Nigerians are waiting for. But the federal government has released those things to our states and local government. So we should be able to hold them accountable for it.
All right, let's move on to the next story. I mean, People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party have kicked against the 55 billion naira allocated in the 2025 budget for the maintenance of the presidential fleet. This is contained in the 2025 appropriation bill sent to the National Assembly for approval. If approved by the lawmakers, over 55.5 billion naira will be spent on total overhauling of 3 aircraft engines in the presidential fleet, including fueling, fumigation, air navigation, cleaning, and other maintenance of the presidential fleet. The entire aviation ministry's 2025 budget stands at 105 billion naira, 953,496,365. The budget, which was scrutinized by our correspondent, showed that the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development has 71,123,368,069 naira. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency gets 9,819,554,829 naira, while 7,975,364,319 naira goes to the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology, Zaria. Others are the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau with 10,035,209,148 naira, and the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, which was allocated 7 billion naira, at least it to our expectations. An administration that has fallen in love with profligacy. It is time the government rethink its priorities and start putting the needs of its citizens first. The proposed expenditure on presidential jets is a national shame, and it's time for Nigerians to demand better from the leaders. Well, I'm going to stop there. Chizzy, let's get your take on this proposed budget for the presidential fleet.
Yes, you see, Pope John Paul II did say something, I'm going to quote him. He said, "Pariah drinking intoxicates the mind." He said, drink deeply, that's where the honor lies. Now, what that means is, you know, as soon as, because we're vulnerable, as soon as you mention an amount 50-something billion on presidential airfare, everybody says that's too much. Why would you do that? And they wouldn't know the air fleet and all of that from that day till the end of the year
2025, and also maintenance.
Maintenance. They also not looking at paying of the staff of that fleet. They also not looking at the wages you pay, the things you pay when you land in other places. And I can tell you, those who are saying this, no. But it's just that when you mention it, because most times if you begin to reduce these things into the kind of travel, and what is the president bringing in? I tell you that today, the offshoot of the presidential travels. You don't look at, so if you look at $2 billion and you match it with 55 billion naira, look at the percentage, and that's a billion naira, not talking about dollars. Then you look at what is the gains, where are they going to? The president will have to move from one place to the other. The Indians that announced, you can also see that Coca-Cola has said they are going to put in about 1.something billion in this year, and they are premised on the policies of government and what the government is doing with their travels. So sometimes those who have been in government, who knows that the government travels and they know why you travel like that, without use this word 50-something billion naira as if it's, I'm not saying that 50-something billion naira is not a big money. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's not a big money, but I want you to convert it to even traveling on economy, on all of those travels, assuming that the president is going to be traveling. A president is not like me, who travels just like that. A president travels with a college of businessmen, a travel college to bring up investments in this place. It is when he travels, and all of this, you know, yielding. I have just mentioned one, that okay, in 2025, a company, the highest on earth, I'm not talking about in the world, on earth, is coming to invest in Nigeria for $2.something billion. Put it there, you know that, and then you look at it in economic reality and see what that means today, and see where even when some of them were in government, what did they spend in bringing that? They are just looking at the gullible Nigerians. They give you say, oh, ATN, for instance, gave Chizi or Masla 5 million naira. They say, what? Giving 5 million naira for what? They would not understand the resources. They will not understand what they are doing with it. They will not understand. So, and to begin to define all of that, the man who is there as the Minister of Aviation and all of that would have known what they would before they put in that. And then, of course, we have our the National Assembly to also vet it. So we're waiting for them.
Well, I quite understand the facts how, you know, the benefits that comes when the president you know, has diplomatic ties with other countries, and the benefits of his traveling out. But so far, you know, it's been 1 year and some months since we have this administration in power. I would like to know, what are the benefits? Certain. Right. So what has he done? What are those benefits of his trips? We've had lots of trips. He has traveled to several.
To the ministry for the distribution to the manufacturing industries. Those are benefits. And of course you know that these things are not, as soon as he said, well, it hasn't come yet. As soon as a company, you know, announces that, they already done that. What means that they have accepted to go ahead to invest. And this thing is not something that just comes in a day. It comes in many of negotiations, moving from here, talking to them, diplomatic negotiations and politics and business, using our businessmen to also go to talk to them into it. They begin to yield fruit. Very soon you begin to see them yield fruit. As they begin to announce and begin to come, they have announced it. Now look at what an announcement means. You see, firstly, the benefit of that announcement is that it has given impetus again in our economy. A lot of people begin to come and invest around where they're going to invest on. That's what people do. The multiple effect of those announcements has a lot of, it also gives trust. You know, that's what the government needs. You know, when you have trust deficit, especially has to do with the diplomatic ties, on trust deficit, it's a huge one. When companies begin to announce investment, that means that you will begin to see other companies that may not have the window of announcements to begin to come and invest already, because each company comes with a whole lot of multiple effect, you know, multiple impact on the economy. And so a lot of things, like I've said, I have faulted the government for not communicating effectively, for not coming to communicate in the dialect that our people will see. Look at this thing, look at what is going to happen here, look at what is happening there, look at what is happening. It doesn't just come in a day. But of course, they have said early period of this year, which is the first quarter of this year, they will start. 3 of these companies will start here. And you know what I mean? That's huge. None of those companies can employ less than 50,000 persons. And that's huge. That's impactful.
Okay, so I'd also like to ask, how does this expenditure impact the national budget, especially in terms of allocation to critical sectors? Like we have health, we have education, we also have infrastructure. You know, it appears that this presidential maintenance is given more precedence.
Now let me tell you why it is done. Have you not asked why they have not picked on education? You remember, let me tell you, they have not said, even when they are criticizing this, They have not said the education is less funded. They have not said the health sector is less funded. They've not said so. Do you understand? Maybe they didn't tell you also that what the government has done is to get people to begin the pharmaceutical to come and produce their drugs in Nigeria. They have not said so. It looks like they are satisfied with the budget of defense. They are satisfied with the budget of the critical sector. The only place they want to pick up is the presidential air fleet to look at. Why are they not talking about education? They should bring up education and see what the project is for education. They should look at industry, look at the security system and the defense, look at the Ministry for Works and all of that. What they are doing, they should bring it up. I'm sure that the budget is about trillions of naira. So 55 billion naira wouldn't have been the only thing that's in the budget, that's captured in the budget. They should also bring it. So for me, why criticizing on this? They have said, oh, apart from this, if you just remove this, the whole budget is correct. That's what it means. Because they have not said, because of this thing you have done here, it's affecting education. It's affecting this. They have not said funded and the budget given to it is enough for it today, this year. And they have also agreed on other sectors, and agricultural sectors and all of that. Like I've said, the health sectors alone, that they are bringing companies that are coming to manufacture in Nigeria with our local manufacturers.
All right. I'd also like to ask you this as well. Do you think there are alternatives to such, to the 55 billion naira set aside for the presidential fleet? Are there alternatives considering the cost-saving measures and also security concerns?
Like I've said, maintaining the presidential air fleet is not a child's play. And you have to maintain it because your president is the symbol, it's a personification of the country. The president must travel, the president must meet other the president of Nigeria is almost like the president of Africa. The same thing the president of the US is. I don't want to know if you put their let them quote what it takes to maintain the presidential air fleet of the American, and we'll see what that means. So for me, the National Assembly is there. That is why they are there. And then, of course, there's a public hearing that people they should go there and defend it and then criticize it and see how they could provide alternative, to maintaining those aircrafts.
All right. Considering the fact that not a lot of people, not a lot of the masses know about this, how does this allocation affect the public's perception of government's priorities and its impact on political support?
That is why I am faulting the federal government for not being communicative enough. Because what the opposition is doing is to look at the vulnerable public, to say, look, look at what all the people discussing around the road now is, president is using 50 billion naira to maintain his aircraft. It's not even the Nigerian aircraft. So the people should come on board to say, look, this is what we are doing here. This is what we are doing here. That's why I say they're not communicating. They're not going to be communicating for government.
All right.
I'm saying the government has not communicated enough.
All right, then, so we'll have to go on a short break. When we come back, Open Conversation continues. Stay with us.
Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
On this place, economic stability and confidence. To condemn this act, I thought that critical to leave of this minister and the
Give us access to our money we As always said, there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the coward and the hypocrites. Which I am.
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
I will place economic stability and confidence. To condemn this act.
Thanks for joining us. You're watching Open Conversation on Atlantic Television Network. Joining me today on Open Conversation is no other person than Chizi Nyomasila. He's a political analyst. We delve right into our remaining stories for today. Northern Elders Forum, NEF, has dispelled any rumor of internal wrangling in the organization, insisting that the recent changes within the Northern Elders Forum leadership are simply routine internal adjustments designed to enhance efficiency and effectiveness. In a statement issued by Abdulaziz Suleiman, Director NGOs and CSOs of the Northern Elders Forum, the Elders Forum explained that it's crucial to dispel any misconceptions about internal conflict within the NEF. We remain a united and cohesive body bound by a common vision and unwavering commitment to the development and betterment of the Northern region, the NEF insisted. It is crucial to dispel any misconceptions about internal conflict within the NEF. We remain a united and cohesive body bound by a common vision and unwavering commitment to the development and betterment of the Northern region. The NEF's strength lies in its ability to navigate diverse opinions and perspectives while maintaining a shared focus on achieving its goals. Internal discussions and debates are a natural part of any organization's decision-making process, and these internal deliberations should not be mistaken for signs of weakness or disunity. The NEF's history demonstrates its capacity for internal cohesion, ensuring that disagreements do not detract from the collective effort towards the common goal, NEF added. Oh well, these are not in elders debunking rumors of internal wrangling. I'd like to get your thought on this, Chizi.
Well, firstly, let me commend them for managing. I do not say, I have said that peace is not the absence of crisis. Peace is the management of crisis. What will happen? Of course, there are some right sizing. You can put up this structure that's okay, you're doing well here. Let us remove your face from here. Let us get it to this place and do. I mean, that's natural of a progressive organization, an organization that is healthy.
Well, from everything we just said so far, can you identify any specific, policies or decisions that might have, been influenced by this, let me say, internal, because there's no way in a family, there's always one problem or the other in a family. So is there any way you can identify any, cause that might bring about this?
Yeah, pushing me into politics, because I know that, let me tell you, I speak like that. And so I can tell you here, that of course you know that in Nigeria, especially in Nigeria, as soon as an election is concluded, the next election is starting off by politicians.
Yes.
And so part of the, one of the most important organizations we have in this country is Northern Elders Forum. And of course, there are diverse interests going in there to see who is not supporting who is supporting who, what can we do to call support. That also affects our organization. But the fact that they were able to seek and then all of them are in pictures now. They come, even the one they removed and the one they came, all of them came back to say, look, let us have and then of course, if you look at their statement, they accepted that there were some dialogues, there were some arguments, but it's just argument where